Welcome back to another episode of Right on Focus.
You know what? We got a great show. We're going to talk to Brandon Straka. It's going to be great. He's the founder of the Walkaway movement. So we're going to talk about him and get an interview from him in New York City.
Absolutely. And Gene was in New York City for this interview, so I think we ought to talk a little bit about this country boy in the big city.
Learned how to use the subway.
He did. He's quite proud of himself.
So we'll be right back on Right on Focus.
So we had Gene Ho in New York City.
You know what? The thing is, I went there and I'm scared because I'm riding the subway because, you can't go to cabs everywhere. So I learned to ride the subway.
It's expensive.
Yes, it's like anywhere you go is like $30. So I learned to ride the subway. It was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, you'll have to remember too that this is in the beginning stages of the coronavirus.
So so they have the coronavirus
the Chinese
there,
man?
and I'm like, oh, there's Chinese people. Stay away from them. They got the coronavirus, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm Chinese. Everyone's afraid of me.
Yeah, it was that moment he caught a glimpse of himself in the glass. Yeah. Oh.
So I had a great time in New York. There was a couple of really interesting things. One of the things, I'm walking through Wall Street, and there's a Vietnam memorial display there. It's actually a park. And I'm just walking around, and I look at this, and I'm just like, wow, this is the neatest thing. Lo and behold, I look down. Donald Trump was one of the main sponsors of the park. And it's great because he was doing things for veterans long before he even began running for president. It was just neat.
I think that you probably see that a lot across New York, though. That's a common theme. The what was the park? The not roller skate, ice rink.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not even sure. I think they tried, or they were taking his name away from it. It's so sad, but Donald Trump did a lot of great things for New York, and this was long before he was even into politics. So it was cool. And the other thing that I went to do is I actually went to talk to Laura Trump in Trump Towers, and that was really neat.
Okay, tell us.
All right,
tell us.
First of all, you go there and like you walk in and there's armed guards and they have big machine guns, and I walk in dressed in black, right? Because that's all I wear is black, and they're like, whoa, open your jacket. And I'm like, so I had to open my jacket and gotta go. They thought I was gonna go shoot up the place or something.
Yeah,
but,
the Asian assassin thing again.
So anyway, it was really neat. Then I went to go see Laura Trump there. It was the best thing ever because I walk up and I say, hey, I'm here to see Laura Trump. And they're like, are you Mr. Ho? I'm like, wow, feel important. But it was really good. And the one thing I have to say, besides Laura and Eric being a class act, they have, at least Laura is working specifically for the campaign. They got it going on. I think 2020 is going to be a great election. It's going to be a big win for Donald Trump.
I think it's not just within the organization, though. I think I'm seeing that across the board as we're doing our traveling. We're seeing a lot of people who are boots on the ground. They don't need to be a part of the campaign. They are speaking on behalf of Donald Trump and what he's done simply because they believe that much in it.
Really, that's what it's all about. A lot of the people, and we're going to talk to Brandon Straka in a minute. We're going to talk about him. But Brandon is like me and Nadine, like Diamond and Silk. All of us are really, for lack of a better words, unofficial parts of the campaign. We're not part of the campaign, but at the same time, we're kind of like promoting Donald Trump. But it's just people like us out there that are just going out and saying, listen, we're going to do what we can do to promote our president and the United States. And I think that's what's really going on in America.
Yep. Everybody's ready to stand up.
So we're going to be right back. And in a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit about Brandon Straka. Nadine wasn't there in New York, so she's going to find out a little bit about him. And then we're going to have an interview with Brandon in just a moment. So we'll be right back on Right on Focus.
Victory Junction!
Fantastic! Hi, I'm Gene Ho. Victory Junction is a year-round camp for kids with chronic and serious illnesses. It's set in a medically sound environment which enables children to have a safe experience in the time of their lives at absolutely no cost to their families. Join me in making a big difference in the lives of these children with your tax-deductible donations. To find out more, just go to victoryjunction.org and feel your heart race.
So Gene was in New York and had the opportunity to sit with Brandon Strack. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know what? I've already known him, but this interview that we're going to show in just a little bit, like, seriously, he is probably the most open I've seen him in an interview. Besides the fact that I know him as friends, I'm a fan of his. And it's interesting because one of the things I said to him, and we'll talk about that, I said, listen, how do you talk to people that say, listen, you came out of nowhere, you know, you're articulate, you're good looking, and you must be a phony because, you know, you're using this movement.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, he's authentic and as genuine as anyone could be. And I tell you what, I love Brandon. He's a great guy. And also, it was interesting because we talked a lot about Laura Trump because he's really good friends with Laura as well. And it was interesting because he got a chance recently to meet Donald Trump. And could you imagine, what do you think his reaction was?
Well, you know what I find interesting about Brandon, and I did watch the video, I watched the interview. You have Brandon, you have someone like Gene, you have Diamond and Silk, you have all of these individuals who society would deem as unlikely candidates to be supporting, you know, the racist Donald Trump. And yet you have this group of folks who sort of created their own movement. They took the movement and spun their own off of it. You know, Brandon, when he put that initial video out, his very first walk away, the video that everyone knows of with the black background and where he's just speaking his mind, you know, and you asked him about that. You know, did you think it was going to have the type of impact that it has had? And you know, for him to sort of say, you know, to be where we are now, no, I had no idea it would have that kind of potential. But he saw the movement that it created and continued to ride that. And he built where he is now. Yes.
I mean, I think the thing, Nadine, is you have people in America, and it's not just like, okay, you have to be as big as Diamond and Silk or as big as Brandon, but this is a phenomenon going all through the country where just people are just saying, listen, I'm going to plug in, do what I can do personally, and then take it from there. And it's not only that, I was very interested to see when I talked to him how basically his humility in all of this. Like, he almost can't believe that all of this happened. And I believe that he was the right person at the right time to do this. And I guess my point is that it just shows us that we in America can just take what we believe in and just say, listen, what can I personally do?
Right. And beyond that, I think one thing that he mentioned that is a resounding common thread that we're hearing is he feels chosen. He feels that this was put on him, that he was prepared and put in that situation because he was ready and capable to handle that. And I feel similarly for you to be a photographer in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, really with no reason to be following a presidential campaign, but yet you did, and you took that and created your own movement off of it. I think it's been pretty amazing.
So anyway, right now we're going to get into this interview with Brandon Strack, and if you just follow Brandon and what he's doing and see where you could plug in, because the key to his movement is not Brandon, and like everyone thinks it's about him because he's on TV all the time, but it's really not. It's about each one of us giving our own stories to this. And you could add to your stories, or if you don't want to add to it with him, you know, if you believe in this, tell your friends, speak your mind, and I think that's what it is. So we'll be right back, and we'll get into my interview with Brandon Strack.
There was a time when I had my head in the sand. Then I found out that power players pass lies for truth and truth for lies, especially in areas of life and health. I used to stay quiet, and now I speak up. I red pill my family, I red pill my friends, and I support redpillliving.com. Red Pill Living has real health products that support longevity, vitality, and detoxification against the deep state attacks on your health. It's redpillliving.com. Wake up, stand up, speak up.
Hey everyone, we are right on focus. I am in New York City and with my friend Brandon Straka. Everyone knows him. I tell you what, I was just at Trump Towers. I tell you what, meeting with Laura Trump. Laura Trump loves this guy, and I love him.
I love Laura Trump. She's so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, first of all, when you first made that video that went viral, how did you feel before you hit send and you just put it out? Like, what was going through your mind? Did you think all this stuff would happen? Or?
Well, no, I don't think where we are today with this being like an organization and doing events and doing a college tour and doing these like minority town halls across the country. No. But what did I think? I think that I was probably just feeling kind of scared because I had lost like 90% of my friends by the time I made that video, by the time I created Walkway, but I still had about 10% that were sort of hanging on, and a lot of them were friends that have been close friends for 10, 15, 20 years and on. And I'm sure, you know, you've seen the video, so you know it's pretty unambiguous. You know, it's pretty black and white, like how I feel about what I'm saying. And so there was, once I said it, I knew that there was going to be no confusion about where I stood politically or about my feelings towards the Democratic Party or liberalism. And so I think I was just kind of nervous, like, because there was no guarantee that it was going to work or that it would be successful. And nothing I'd ever done in my life had ever really been successful like that before. I had made other videos about different things, and you know, they got like a couple hundred views. Or so, you know, I don't think I'd ever done anything that even got like 1,000 views. So so I thought to myself, there's a really good chance that I'll put this out, and the only people who will ever see it are like my friends,
right,
or future potential employers who will be like, not hiring him. And that it would end up just like ruining whatever was like left of my life. But obviously that wasn't the case, thank God.
Now, how has it been since then? Because I mean, you have actually, I want to say this, guys, you have been a national phenomenon. I mean,
thank you.
You are, I was just on the Eric Metaxas show, and we're talking
Love him too.
And we're talking about you, like, he brought it up, but we're talking about you, like, I mean, you basically, in this movement, but to other people, you become a household name. I remember we were in DC, we were at the Lincoln Memorial, and people were coming up to you, like, everyone recognized you. So, like, how was that? How has your life been changed?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that. There's the fact that, I'll tell you something that's, okay, so I love to work. Like, I actually used to be a drinker, and I'm sober now. I've been sober for 5 years. And so I think that when I became sober, I became a workaholic. You know, I think that kind of became my thing. Yeah, exactly. And so I absolutely love to work. And so like now, it's not unusual for me to travel almost every week to go somewhere in the United States and be speaking, because I'm trying to grow Walkway organically, you know, just by telling 100 people here or 500 people here or 1,000 people here, you know, and of course utilizing social media.
Right.
But I'm always, even now, a year and a half plus later, every single time I walk into a room to speak and people are there, I'm surprised. Every time. Because literally, I'm backstage every time I have people on my team, like, you know, and you can, every time I'm like, is anybody out there? Is anybody out there? And they're like, yes, there's like hundreds of people out there. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm always shocked every time I open the door. I'm like, oh, people came. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, it's weird to me that, like weird in a great way, that it's had this impact, that people are excited about what I'm doing, that they're excited about this movement, and that they're showing up for it. So, I mean, it's amazing.
So what now? I mean, I know you're growing it, it's getting bigger, and it's like exponentially growing bigger. What's going on in the next couple of months here for you?
Okay, so we have some really, really cool stuff. When does this come out?
It will come out probably in about a week or 2 weeks. So if you want to plug something, go ahead and plug.
Well, I do, but I can't yet.
Okay.
I can say this. we're going to be announcing a really amazing event. In fact, dare I say, I'm not going to say the most amazing event because I'm very proud of everything we've done. They're all kind of my babies. But this is going to be one of the greatest events we have ever done. It's going to be an event directed toward women.
Okay.
Basically, we want to give an uplifting message of empowerment for women that is antithetical to modern feminism.
Okay.
Basically, which is to say that we're celebrating women of all different backgrounds and types who make all different lifestyle choices, and that you can be a strong, modern, powerful woman without hating men, without constantly being angry, enraged, screaming, upset about something, that there are a lot of ways to be a powerful woman. And so this event is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll be rolling out all the details soon, but I can officially say that Laura will be a part of this event.
Wonderful.
And she's one of 6 like top-notch A-list panelists that are it's gonna be
And I
incredible.
tell you what, because when I was meeting with Laura today, like to have Laura just like, yeah, we're talking, and then she brings up Brandon, and it's just like crazy because what you're doing, you have had such an amazing impact.
Thank you.
On not only the movement, but I think that you are integral for what's going on to get Trump reelected. I think you're that big.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, and I really hope that that's true. I mean, I think that there are, I've said all along, tens, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are feeling just as I was feeling, pushed away from a party that they no longer recognize, and from a political ideology that has gone sour, it's gone toxic. And
What do you think, Brandon? Is it that you were brave enough to do that, or that you just was like the accidental champion of this? Why are some people so drawn to you?
okay, I can answer that. I don't know if it makes me kind of immodest, but this is why I think this resonated. Because first of all, I guess I want to say I'm under no delusion that I am the first person to walk away, or that I created the concept of walking away. People were walking away from the left a long time before I was. I think what I did differently that really resonated with people was, one, I created a campaign in which people could use their own voices, be heard and be represented, and do it in a way that felt very safe because they were doing it in a community. Sharing this hashtag, walk away, knowing that this wasn't like somebody had to go on their own Instagram or their own Twitter and make a video and be by themselves. They were joining this huge community of people who were also making videos, also telling their stories, and also sharing this hashtag and this movement together called Walk Away. So I think the first thing is that I created a community and a network, which ultimately became a movement. And I think that it's something that people desperately wanted. And I think people wanted to speak out and they wanted to be heard. They just didn't want to be alone when they did it, one. And two is that I have made an intentional choice whenever and wherever possible not to really represent myself or my organization as a provocateur. I try to, whenever possible, and I fail sometimes, but I try to conduct myself in a way that I think that most people would feel proud to have that person representing them. So I don't really make my movement about trying to trigger liberals or enrage people or make fun of people or to be intentionally provocative or controversial or I like to think that I'm a pretty likable, approachable person, and I've tried not to change in that respect. And so I think that by joining Walk Away and being a part of this movement and recognizing me as the leader of this movement, I think that people feel like they feel good being a part of something, knowing that the leader of the movement is someone that they're like, he's like me. He's just like a normal guy who's a nice guy who just happens to be a conservative.
But the other thing about it, though, which I don't understand, but like when people look at you, they're like, wait a minute, this guy, you could be fake because you are very polished, you do the media, you know how to work the media. Like I've seen some videos of you that go viral because you're like stepping up at a convention and there's a speaker out there and they're talking about liberal things and you get on the mic. Like people could look at you and say, wait a minute, is this guy for real, or is he just, like, or is he's a fake, or he's a plant, or what is it about you? Because you got, let's face it, you got the looks, you know how to speak in front of the camera, you know how to work the media, you know how to speak in front of a group. I mean, a lot of the groups that I've been to, they say, hey, Brandon Straka was just here speaking or whatever, but you have all these things. Like, did it just come naturally, or did you always have it?
That's a very fair question. So, what I believe is that I believe that we live in this time right now where whatever you want to believe, whether it be God, the universe, higher power, whatever you want to call it, is making some very interesting and unique choices about the direction in which this country is being led. I mean, Donald Trump is the president. I mean, pretty unlikely, thing to happen that Donald Trump would become the president of the United States. And I think it's equally unusual that a gay man who used to be a liberal would leave the Democratic Party and start a movement and be lifted up by conservatives in this way, because that's the narrative, right? Conservatives hate gay people. Republicans hate gay people. So how is this happening? I think that I feel like I was chosen to do this very, very intentionally, and so long before there was,
I love this. Yeah.
long before there was Walkaway, I was an aspiring actor, singer. I moved to New York City because I wanted to do theater and film and television, things like that. So I have thousands and thousands of hours of experience being on stage, preparing to be on camera. I practiced all those things because I thought I was going to be an actor.
Right.
And so I've always been comfortable being in front of people. I've always been comfortable with the idea of being on camera. And then in terms of I guess I will say I think I'm pretty naturally articulate, but the fact of the matter is, if you're telling the truth, if you're just speaking from your heart, it's really not that hard. You just have to say the words that are true, and that's kind of what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
But I get why people feel this way though, because they're like, he came out of nowhere.
Right.
He seems like an actor.
Right.
He's
right. Oh, are you using this as your way of getting out there? No, and I get it, because you have to remember, I prepared all my life to be a photographer, and then that's how I got through the door with Donald Trump. But I'm doing talks just like you, and it's just I feel that it's almost cosmic in a way, that it's God moving us to do this. I feel chosen in many ways.
Yes.
And all the other stuff I did, I used to speak to photography groups. Like, we're in New York, I used to speak at B&H Photo here. But it's interesting, I just always wondered about you, because I know that's what people think. It's oh, he's too polished. He's using it. They said the same thing to Diamond and Silk, which they love you too. But Diamond and Silk say the same thing, where they're almost they have to be fake, and it's, I can see it. I know it's not, but I think it's something that people think about.
Well, and you also have to bear in mind that we sort of bear that stigma of being minorities who are conservatives. So automatically, people will think we're not supposed to be conservatives.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about people on the right, I'm talking about people on the left. Will say, you're not supposed to be conservative, I'm not supposed to be conservative, Diamond and Silk are not supposed to be conservatives. So we already have kind of that hurdle to overcome, that, we must be fake, because what Asian person or gay person or black person in their right mind would be a conservative.
I know.
So obviously we're just doing it for money.
Yes.
That's obviously.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, I think if these people understood the amount of work that it takes, my life, it never ends. I never get enough sleep. I never stop working. And again, I love it, but I don't ride around on a magic carpet going on television all the time. That's not what, that is 2% of my life. Well, the magic carpet is 0%, but the television part is 1% or 2% of my life. And then there's 98% where I'm doing grueling work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, preparing events, planning events, running my organization. Signing contracts, reading contracts, typing. It's a lot. It's unbelievable. And so it's not a good grift.
Yeah.
If that,
Now, two more questions, and one of them is very simple. How do you deal with the negativity? People have the things that people say about me, and I can't even imagine what they say about you. I'm betraying my race and all this stuff. What does it bother you when people say negative things about you?
I suppose it depends on the negative thing. Do you mean as it pertains to my minority status specifically? Does it bother me? I don't think so, because I feel really, really proud of being an individual. That means so much to me. And so when I have a lot of people who are coming at me and being like, you know, you're a gay person who's betraying LGBT people, you're whatever, it's, I know the truth, you know, which is that that's not true, number one. And number two, like, if I'm willing to stand up to that, first of all, if I'm willing to experience what it feels like to not even really be a part of my community anymore, because like all the LGBT people are over here and I'm like over here, there's like 5 of us over here, you know, the LGBT conservatives. And then one, I think that really indicates that I'm somebody who stands up for my convictions, my principles, and what's important, and that I'm not going to just do the easy things to go along with the crowd, and that's something I'm super proud of. But also, I look at the gay rights movement going back to the 60s, you know, and before, and how what those people had to face in terms of opposition to them just for being gay, and that early on, it was a small group of people speaking out and fighting on behalf of all the gay community. And look at where we are today, where it's completely normalized to be a gay person in society today. So I feel like I'm now on the front lines of a new gay rights movement, which is a movement of intellectual freedom and diversity for the LGBT community, that we don't have to monolithically be liberals and Democrats. And I'm getting the same pushback from all of them now that I think that the early gay rights people got from the majority of society. But I know that the end of the story is a happy ending. Right. So we just have to keep pushing. I mean, 10 years from now, people will look back on what I'm doing today and they'll be like, I get it. And he wasn't a bad guy. Like I get what he was doing now. So I just have to wait it out.
One final question. I know you just met him. What do you think about Donald Trump after all this time?
Oh my God, I love him. I love him. And I have to say, when I met him that day at Mar-a-Lago last month, he was so charming and so nice and so focused, and he knew exactly who I was. You know,
was that awesome for you?
Yes. Well, okay, so it kind of began with, I was there with Libby Albert, who is the executive director of Walkaway. She and I were there together. And he was walking by us, and she kind of stopped him, and she said, "Excuse me, Mr. President, I'm Libby Albert, the executive director of Walkaway." And as soon as she said Walkaway, his eyes lit up. And right then I was like, because I thought
could you imagine?
Yeah, what's that? What is that? Huh? No, his eyes lit up, and then so then once his eyes lit up, he kind of turned over and he looked and he saw me, and then his eyes kind of lit up again.
Okay, right, because he knows, right.
Yeah, and he came over and he shook my hand and he gave me all these compliments and praised the movement, and he said, you know, we've never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah,
what you're doing is amazing.
It really is.
And then I said to him, I was like, I would really like to sit and talk with you about some ideas that I have, and he said, we'll talk. And then he leaned into me and he said, how do you like those retweets? Because he's given me several retweets.
I know this.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
So, I mean, that was amazing for several reasons. I mean, one, it absolutely confirmed that he knew exactly who I was, which I knew he did anyway, but then it was also like, that was actually him retweeting me, you know, not like someone on his staff, you know, or something, because I didn't know. And then the coolest thing it was all cool, and he took several pictures with me, which was cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
But he started going around to tables, because we were there at the restaurant Mar-a-Lago, and he started going around to tables and saying, do you know who this guy is? Do you know that he's getting people to leave the Democratic Party? It's amazing. It's tremendous what he's doing. Like this, and I was just literally, I was like, is this really happening? Is this seriously happening? This guy is tremendous. He's getting people to leave the Democrats.
That's good. I like that.
I was like, this is unbelievable. So it was incredible.
Thank you so much for seeing that with me.
Thank you guys. You got to check it out. You guys know who he is. Brandon Straka, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. #WalkAway.
Do you have a mouse in your pocket? Well done. Well done.
All righty.